Alright, so the important thing to remember here is this is the least interesting episode they've got. I've seen all the episodes. I've seen all 8 episodes of Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Episodes 1 and 2 are the least interesting. Episode 3, that's where it locks in and becomes awesome. I think there's still a lot of good stuff in this episode, and I want to go over it in this video, but I do think that was my takeaway because I just rewatched the episode, and I found it pretty engaging, and I appreciated it a lot more having seen the second half of the season, and seeing how some of these plot threads that would get brought up would be resolved. But I understand why the majority opinion on this one is that it's okay. And I think it would be an above average episode for season 1, but because season 2 was so much better than season 1, in my opinion and in a lot of the reviewers' opinions, if you look at like the Rotten Tomato score and stuff, but because that gets judged a little bit more harshly, and it's like, it's a fine intro. We get introduced to our new big framing device here, which is the BB Ulrich videos, like, hey, New York is nice and everything's cool. I think those are quite heavy-handed, but I like them. I think they feel like the kind of thing that would show up on Instagram or something like that. That is the kind of fluffy nonsense propaganda that would do pretty well these days, that would appeal to like a boomer. And on the other side, I like the Max Headroom thing that is happening that we see a little bit of here, where someone is exposing the real truth about Wilson Fisk. I find that also kind of fun. That bit is also a little heavy-handed, and I think I would mind it more if not for whoever's doing its amazing Kingpin impression. I would imagine if you live in this New York, everybody's got an impression of Wilson Fisk, kind of the same way that everybody has a Trump. Not that we want to hear him all the time. I feel like it's fun. I feel like that feels authentic to this universe. Oh, and also, I'm not going to spoil things that happen in the future, because that wouldn't be any fun. I'm going to try to keep all that in my head, just talking about episode 1. By the way, this episode is called The Northern Star. I saw an interview with Charlie Cox where he said it is specifically difficult for a British person doing an American accent to use an R in the middle of a word, because they say northern, right? They don't say northern. And he was like, I wish it was North Star, because that's easier to pronounce. And it does remind me that, like, Charlie Cox is playing an American, even though he is British, and it's completely plausible. He sounds legit. He's been doing this specific version of an American accent for a while now, but it's like, it's easy to take for granted that he is not from here. And then in the same area, whatever Vincent D'Onofrio was doing with Wilson Fisk, like he's been doing it the whole time, it is very strange, but it also works, and it has become so second nature, like we're so used to it that we don't appreciate, I feel like, how weird he sounds. And I think maybe it was the impression that helped me remember, like, oh my god, yeah, this guy is so strange. So we get the fight on the Northern Star. This is the first big action sequence of like 2 action sequences in this episode. I think this action sequence is really fun. It's a lot of what we're used to, big flippy martial arts, but there was one thing specifically that I loved, and I don't remember seeing it as much in any season before this, was the Billy Club. We get a lot of that in this season. The Billy Club extending out like a whip and hitting somebody and then recoiling back, and then Daredevil tosses it. Like, I know he always has worked with that since it was introduced in whatever first season, second season of the show, but I don't know, it feels more animated here, but also it never feels too silly. It's like, I guess someone like him who's really good at using that can use it to knock out 2 guys in a room before he has to get in the room. And they also don't linger on it. It's a real quick effect with a nice little sound attached to it, so you don't have time to be like, oh my god, it's so silly that he's doing that. The same way that like Wonder Woman with the lasso, and obviously her lasso is different and it's supposed to be a magical lasso, you see it on screen for so much, you kind of watch it be a special effect. I don't think you really get that much time with the Billy Club here, but I think that helps to make Daredevil look cool. Speaking of make Daredevil look cool, best costume. One of the best costumes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I loved the Daredevil costume from last season. I like the one on She-Hulk a lot. I think overall, Daredevil's costumes have gotten better and better and better, and we are at what must be peak Daredevil costume because it has the interlocking Ds, which I also saw in an interview. Charlie Cox has to make himself remember to not call them his double Ds for reasons that are obvious. But like the fact that we have those here, that this character is evolving into more of a symbol, I really appreciate. And yeah, the black suit looks perfect. So Matt beats up all those guys. Turns out there's guns on the boat. The boat is sunk. Oh no. Those 2 guys are the only guys that could tell anybody about the boat. Also, this is going to be a huge plot point, and you get almost all of it here in this episode, but we'll find out that a character working for a very important character needs to pass guns and all kinds of other military hardware secretly through this port. And the characters will say, like, it's great that we have this port, Wilson Fisk, that we can do this illegal thing in, but you gotta make sure it still works, otherwise we won't have it anymore. And in my head, I'm like, why does it need to, you're not taking these weapons to New York City, right? You're taking them to, like, somewhere else, so you just go around it. Like, I'm sure there's reasons why, but it's interesting that so much of this season hinges upon a port that it does feel like the people using it could have skipped. Matt and Karen are like fully dating now. That's new. I think Deborah Ann Wool is very good in this season, and she gets a lot more to do a little bit later on. I would say this is the most acting I feel like I've seen from her, outside of some scenes, but like obviously season 3 where she's messing with Kingpin and telling him, oh, I killed Wesley. Great scene, good acting, plenty of very good Karen Page acting, but I think Deborah Ann Wool gets like a lot to do here and I appreciate it. She also gets some of the dopiest wigs I've ever seen. Like, I know all of these actors wear wigs. You know, like Chris Evans as Captain America. His hair is kind of like that, but also he always wears a wig because it's too hard to style. I get that. And I think because of that, I've been like, I probably don't notice most of the wigs I see. I probably see a bunch of wigs during the day, and I'm just like, that's a wig, but it looks so good, I just assume it's regular hair. She is wearing Party City wigs that are huge. Like, it feels like if you ever look at the behind the scenes of Thunderbolt, you can see when they were doing the Bucky motorcycle stunts, what they did was they took a motorcycle guy, dressed him up like Bucky, put a helmet on him, and then put hair on the helmet, and he had this enormous head, but it doesn't matter because you don't really see it close up, and I'm sure they did digital stuff to make it look normal. But like, I don't know if that's what Karen's working with necessarily, but like, if she's trying not to stick out, this is really important, you gotta get better at the wig thing. I like Fisk's team of bad guys. I was gonna say goons, but you don't say that anymore. But I like his little brain trust. You got Artie Frauschen as Buck Cashman, the right-hand man, who I think this season for me graduates from being Discount Wesley to like a different kind of guy, where he's both does whatever Wesley will do, but also, and you see it in the interrogation a little bit, tries to be a little bit more friendly, and maybe he is kind of charming, and that makes him more difficult. And I finally feel like I get this character and get why there was such a focus on him in Born Again season 1. Then you got Sheila Rivera, played by Sabrina Guevara. I think this character is fine. I feel like she's been pretty much doing the same thing since the beginning of last season, where she's just trying to keep everything running. Yeah, Michael Gandolfini is Daniel Blake. I liked him last season. I like him more now, especially since Trump became president. And this season is going to be so Trumpy, you wouldn't believe it. Like, I mean, you would believe it because it's what you'd expect, right? He's a land developer in New York who keeps getting convicted of stuff and then runs for public office and is very cruel. And some people like him and some people don't. But like, it's impossible to see that and not see at least a little bit of Trump in him. But seeing like the effect Trump had on young white guys, young guys in general, but the guy that this Donald Blake character is playing, seeing what they want, seeing them get what they want. It's like they don't want any of this stuff. They just want a big, nice apartment and to have friends and girlfriends. And this is just how he's going to do that. Like, I'm glad we're seeing that pay off for him, because then we can see maybe how hollow that is, and maybe we can use that to learn more about characters like him. And then you got Powell, played by Hamish Allen Headley. So you could convince me he's just a cop they hired for the show. He's not. I know he's an actor, like does, and that's not to say like, oh, he does a bad job. It means he just feels like a cop. Like, no matter what this guy is saying, and this will continue throughout the season, he has the exact same cadence and like demeanor. He never gets too angry. He's always really angry, but always like holding it in. Like, you'll ask someone for something and they'll refuse it, and then he'll immediately go, okay, time for police violence, and then just hit him. But like, this character is not very dramatic about it, and I feel like that makes him feel interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I like him. And then you obviously have Vanessa Fisk, played by Islet Zur. Good. Doesn't get a ton to do in this episode. We'll get more to do in the future. Now, okay. I'm talking about my favorite part of this episode. This was the Swordsman interrogation. And it's interesting because it involves one of my least favorite characters from last season, Heather Glenn, played by Margarita Leviera. I don't think the actor is bad or anything like that. In fact, I think she's doing a good job playing a character that is incredibly irritating, because she is both making the wrong decisions, right? She's doing bad guy stuff, and she doesn't seem like a character that always wanted to do that. She seemed like she was kind of pushed in that direction, but you're like, oh, it's sad to see her do that. But on the other side, you're like, she still hasn't figured out Matt's Daredevil? Like, will she ever? How does she write all these books and know all this stuff and has not put any of this together yet? So, like, for that reason, I guess she's kind of frustrating. I like seeing this power play between her and Duquesne, played by Tony Dalton. I will say, There are other characters this could be, right? Like this could be any of the other superheroes we know. This could be Miss Marvel or Kate Bishop or other characters that are operating in this area and are breaking these laws the same way. But I do think it's interesting seeing how much Duquesne is kind of like Kingpin. And maybe originally I didn't understand why we were using him specifically, but now I'm like, oh no, it's because he is a high society peer of Kingpin's, and seeing Kingpin go after one of those, A, is supposed to send an interesting message to all the rest of them, and B, it's like maybe dealing with these people is going to be more difficult than just your random kid with a mask on. And, that's the theme of this season. I saw Vincent D'Onofrio say this, like, it's burning down. Everything is kind of collapsing. And it's collapsing in a lot of different ways, but part of it is like Fisk got everything he wanted in the end of last season, but it is built on this house of cards, and we're seeing the cards kind of falter a little bit, and we're seeing the weight of the house of cards weighing down the other cards. The metaphor kind of runs thin here, but I enjoy that. I enjoy watching Fisk kind of trying to keep everything together. Speaking of that, let's talk about the single new character of this season. That is Matthew Lillard's character, only known as Mr. Charles. Every time I hear the word Charles, all I can think of is there's a cat on the internet. Her name is Merv, and part of the narrative in the videos is that she loves a yard worker named Charles. But yeah, man, those videos like own the name Charles for me now. But anyway, this character's name is Mr. Charles. He's not in the books. First of all, that's interesting. He seems like he could be in the books, and there's other characters that he's kind of like, and we'll get to them later in the season. But for now, we know a couple of things. Part of the CIA, or like some sort of intelligence agency, but specifically he works with Val from Thunderbolts, who now presumably has some job in the government as some liaison perhaps to the Thunderbolts. I don't know where this character stands right now. I also don't know exactly when this takes place. Nobody brings up like that time that New York got engulfed in darkness and everyone had their worst nightmare 50 times in a row. But again, this is New York in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so you do kind of forget about it after a week. But I was surprised because originally I kind of expected he would work under Val, and it still probably seems like he does. But like the conversation he has with her feels like they are on the same level. So we have like another Val, and this one's into even more illegal stuff. I mean, it couldn't get more illegal than like trying to make a sentry, I guess. He's doing a thing we've seen before, is this cavalier character who also is really serious, and like he makes a lot of jokes, but also he turns it on, and you're like, oh, this guy might kill me. Sure. I think it would be boring if it wasn't Matthew Lillard, someone who has a personality, and I just haven't seen him in a lot of stuff. So like for me, seeing him do that kind of character for the first time is fun. But yeah, I love the Swordsman interrogation, because it's one of those scenes where both characters know all the information, right? She knows he's Swordmaster. He knows he's Swordmaster. He knows this is a sham trial. She knows this is a sham trial, but neither of them can say either of those things, even though they totally could. It wouldn't make a difference. They're kind of tiptoeing around him. I enjoy that. And I just think Tony Dalton here is fun. He's a character with a lot of charisma. And then that's really it. There's a legal stuff, like, oh, you have this case coming up and stuff. And then it ends with the cops going right after Cherry, like they love to do, brutalizing this man, played by Clark Johnson. And again, another character I didn't have strong feelings about in Born Again Season 1, but now they've kind of grown on me. I'm kind of like happy to see them again. Part of it could be just that the show is better, and like I now associate them with the good thing, but I don't know. I enjoy this performance. This fight scene is cool, and I love the fact that sometimes Daredevil like magically, his Billy Club will hit like 2 people, and then he'll do some breakdancing on the floor that'll end with someone getting their neck more or less broken, although Daredevil doesn't kill, but he does. But I'd love that Daredevil's right on the line between that and guy who could get punched at any time and just totally lose. And we see that here. We see that like if he gets distracted, and we see that he's really burdened by these memories of Foggy, he gets beat up by the cops, and then they unmask him. And then it's like, oh no, is that what this season is? Like, because that's interesting, but like that's not what I thought. And then Bullseye saves him, and I love it. Bullseye is my favorite character in this season because he is always doing something interesting, and he always has a very bizarre mood attached to it. This is the first like interaction between Matt and Bullseye here, and I first of all love the effect, is it doesn't just the knife goes into the floor, right? Like you could conceivably throw it and it's just like front, but it has to hit something on the other side of the room, hit the ceiling, and then right into the floor. So love that, like that they went that far with it. But also I really appreciate that Bullseye not only scratched "You're welcome" into the knife, did his little symbol, which he knows that that's his symbol and it's working really well. Like sometimes shows like this will have a character and it's like, oh, I'm trying to make a name, and then that'll be the joke, is that the name doesn't really stick. But like Bullseye just immediately works, and everybody knows to call him that, and he has a symbol. It's perfect. But I like that he scratched it into the knife and not drew it, because then Daredevil wouldn't be able to see it. And I can't remember exactly how much he knows about how Daredevil works, but I kind of think he does know that. He's like, well, you know, like he has this weird echolocation, so I'm going to carve it. I'm going to take that time. And again, this character only gets more fun, and I appreciate him. You know, Wilson Bethel doing the Lord's work here. And I feel like I must have covered every character. I don't know, Kristen McDuffie, played by Nikki M. James, fine. Gets more stuff to do later. D.A., played by John Benjamin Hickey, annoying and a creep and stuff, but, you know, that's what that character is. So I like what this episode set up, right? I do think like a lot of the least interesting things that you're going to see over the course of the season are in this episode, which is like the DA coming in and talking to Kristen McDuffie about why the law is weird for this. Like, A, that's something we already know, and B, neither of those characters are Daredevil. So like, I just don't care too much. That's actually not fair, because there are a lot of characters in this that are not Daredevil, but like, this isn't them either. This isn't Fisk. This isn't Karen. This isn't Bullseye. So like, there's some things in this episode that maybe aren't as fun as they could be, but like next week, and I totally understand why next week it's episodes 2 and 3 together. I think by the end of that, A, people will know the direction the show is going, and B, will be fully back on board if they weren't by now. But like, when you really get down to it, this is a good first episode. It's very well shot. The action looks great. It's got style. It does that thing where whenever Dr. Glenn thinks about Muse, the frame goes, but yeah, I think my biggest positive coming out of this episode is just the costume looks perfect, and the performances are all as good as they used to be, some potentially even better. I am very excited for everybody to watch episodes 2 and 3. We're gonna do a video about them. I imagine I'll lump them both in one video, although who knows. Oh, and one more thing that I appreciate is the church. Matt's going back to church a little bit. You don't see it as much in this episode, but like, that's something I could spoil, is Matt thinks about his religion and how it affects his life in the season. And I like that. I enjoyed that aspect of the original Daredevil show, and I don't remember if we got any of it in Born Again Season 1, but it definitely doesn't feel like it. And that reminds me of a video I watched recently by Tom Scott, everybody's favorite smart guy on the internet who wears a red shirt. He has a new series called England, where he travels around the country, England, where he is from. Every time I say that, I have to think about like how all the characters in Ella McKay can't say where she is, but they have to say like the place where you were born and raised. It sounds like that's what I'm doing here. So Tom goes to different counties, and he visits an interesting thing. The first episode, he goes to Leicester County and tours a bell-making facility, and making bells is interesting. It's a very old practice, and you look at how they do it in this, and you're like, oh yeah, how did they come up with this? It's crazy that in the 1800s, someone had all of this knowledge and figured out all these techniques just to make bells. Not that they're not impressive, because they're really cool. And also, it's just an interesting environment, because picture in your head what you think a bell worker looks like, someone that makes bells. It's probably not what it ends up being. And you can watch that video along with tons of other videos by a lot of creators you like, early and ad-free on this video sponsor, Nebula. You guys have heard me talk about Nebula before. It is a subscription streaming service that I helped to create. A bunch of us video essayists, and I don't like call myself a content creator, but like content creators got together and were like, hey, these platforms we have to work with, they're great, but they have some problems. And the big one is we wanted to just make great videos, give them to you guys. We wanted to make a nice, clean, well-organized place where you can go to watch all of our videos. They all go up early, so every Nando V Movies video and Nando Cut video go up early. They're all ad-free. You can download them to your phone, which is a feature I don't hear nearly enough people talking about, but is incredibly useful. Like if you don't want to have to eat up all your data or deal with the Wi-Fi at the gym or something, download some videos. You'll have them with you. The videos on Nebula are all made by real people, and that didn't used to have to be a selling point, but now I think it might be the best selling point. There's also all kinds of cool videos you can only find on Nebula. Like Lindsay Ellis makes videos almost exclusively for Nebula. One of her most recent videos was about Bluey adults, and the one after that was about dash cam footage, so it really covers a pretty wide spectrum of things. Then you've got short films like Patrick Williams' Dinner Plan, or series like Maggie Mae Fish's Amy's Dead End Dreamhouse. Tom Scott, everybody's favorite YouTuber, has a new show called England, where he's going to road trip around England and find interesting things. That's on Nebula. And you have what we haven't like fully announced, but will be coming out sometime next year, our show Subliminal. It's our first like dramatic series. I wrote an episode. I think it's pretty good. I've seen parts of it now because it's like coming together and been edited and all that, and like it looks great. I can't wait for you guys to see it. If you want to support us, give us more opportunities to do cool stuff like that, and you want to see our videos early, ad-free, download them and see other creators on Nebula, because all of your favorite creators and your next few favorite creators are on Nebula right now. Like, there's something for everybody. And a yearly subscription to Nebula is $60 for a whole year. That is $5 a month. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, or the link in the description, or you use the QR code, you can get a year of Nebula for just $30. That is $2.50 a month. It is an incredible deal. Again, that is go.nebula.tv/thenandocut.